What's the good word, Josh? Your boy DKB here. So I'm getting this out a little bit late, but I wanted to give my preview of the Patriots versus Jets game. We're finally kicking off our first home game here, and I've been listening to a lot of people mention some of the struggles about the New York Jets. What's been happening with our run defense, which seems like the biggest concern. A lot of people feel like Will McDonald will continue to step up, and same situation with Hassan Reddick. People are on two sides of the spectrum. They either hate the guy, feel like he's already burned all his bridges, and we need to get him out of here, or we need to bring him in because now we don't have Jermaine Johnson to lean on. And this is a system that really requires at least two or three dominant rushers. At this point, it looks like we could just be sending out waves of guys that hopefully have a spark here and there, but nobody that you can consistently point your finger to and rely on. And I would even exclude Quentin Williams here only because he's going to be, the benefactor of a ton of double teams, maybe in some situations triple teams throughout the season. But when it comes to our run defense, there was something I seen Trevor Sikkema from PFF call out. And this wasn't something that I really paid attention to on film when I go back and I check out these games and I try to dive into the all 22 to pull out any important, takeaways that I think are there. But they talked about the wide nine alignment that we have. And the general understanding or expectation, right, is that you're going to have your ends lined up on the outside shoulder of either tackle. But in this situation, they called out that we're so spread out that you essentially have multiple gaps no matter where you're looking that may be open in the run game for guys. And you can see that clearly on display in the 49ers game where they really had their pick of the litter, right? They could hit the A, B, C gap. They can take it outside of the tackles, all kind of combo blocks that they were able to use to easily move guys off the ball. And so this is something that we can end up dealing with the entire season, right? It was always a kind of a disservice of the scheme that we run, right? But with any scheme, there's going to be things that you're willing to concede. In our current makeup, with the roster and personnel we have available, is going to be runs to the inside, and then of course all the stuff to the flats and dump off screens and different things of that nature. But it's something to really pay attention to moving forward, is how much space are we really allowing? Because at this point, you can make the argument that even though we operate as a 4-3 defense, we never blitz, for one, and two, you end up putting your interior players in a position where they really have to operate as 3-4 defensive tackles, meaning they have to play multiple gaps instead of just being able to attack up the middle if you really want to try to make a concerted effort to stop the run. But this is a game that, I want to say, for as great as I'm seeing New England play, from a defensive standpoint, this really should be a statement game for the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers has even talked about it himself from the standpoint of we need to be able to start these games early, right? And I highlighted the fact that I don't like the scripts that we're running for the first half of games necessarily. If they hit, which we haven't seen, maybe it'll look great. But from what we've tossed out there so far, it looks very lackluster, uncreative, unmotivated. There's not a ton of aggression in the scripts that we're running, and you can see a lot of the same sentiments from years past, where guys are being able to call out exactly what's going to happen. Brees Hall run. We're going to end up in a 3rd and 7. We're going to try to hit a pass to Garrett Wilson, and then maybe we factor some guys in, right? So that's something you want to get away from. But when you take a look at this team, no disrespect to the offense, but everything's going to be running through Ramondre Stevenson, right? And he's definitely looking like one of the best backs in the league very early, taking on a huge workload. Antonio Gibson is also a sneaky threat, right? When you want to talk about dual backfields, especially coming off of his hot performance where I think he was just 6 yards shy of 100 yards. But if they can get this run game going, if they can keep us off the clock and essentially attack us the way you would try to attack a Chiefs offense, right? Or any great quarterback, keep them on the sidelines, especially if you're not confident in your ability to win. I don't even want to say a shootout, but just be able to to score multiple touchdowns, the best way is to have an effective run game, burn clock, keep the what am I trying to say here? So when you're passing, there's tons of things that can go wrong: fumbles, sacks, interceptions. When you're really talking about just having a dominant running game, as long as you have a back that you feel comfortable with the ball security, there's not a ton that a team should be able to do to really get that away from you. So especially looking at the wide receiver core, where Hunter Henry is probably their most dangerous weapon, we should be locked in, dialed in, ready to decimate. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to is that if CJ Mosley does get ultimately downgraded to doubtful and out for that game, you're going to get a ton of added athleticism in Jamian Sherwood coming in and seeing guys like Chad Surratt get a little bit more exposure there. And I want to see how Quincy is able to help play off of that, considering there will be somebody new making the calls. And, the experience level isn't necessarily there. But you can make the argument looking at the Titans game once CJ Mosley was out that it looked stronger, right? It looked like guys were more freely running around like we saw last year. And one of the final things I'll call out about the offense is that this would be a great statement game for us, right? Because their offense arguably is playing as the offensive line specifically, a bottom 10 caliber. And they haven't been great since Scarnecchia was out there really helping them out. So between injuries, I see their left tackle looks like it's out. City Soul, their left guard, looks out. The center has some question marks. Michael Winwoo dealing with some stuff. We should be able to take a ton of advantage from this. But on the flip side, the defense, Gerard Mayo was always going to get this turned around, in my opinion. I don't see teams just going out there and running the numbers up on them consistently. But Keon White, man, he was a guy, 2023 draft, second round. I really loved what he brought to the table from an athleticism standpoint. And you're seeing the power, you're seeing the underrated get off and burst from the line of scrimmage from him. 4 sacks already. He's piecing together a great season already in just 2 games. So we're going to look to try to mitigate things. It's interesting because it feels like it's flipped from historical perspective. The Jets now look like they're showing an elite offensive line, whereas we should be able to stop a lot of these strong defensive lines in comparison. Quick game, I showed you guys that follow the community post I dropped. Rodgers is getting the ball out as fast as ever. I think 2.34 seconds was the number that was out there. But this is a defense that is still solid to the core. It's operating a little bit different from the Bill Belichick days, but this is still a team founded in foundation, fundamentals, and it's a team that looks to be opportunistic. So if the Jets can stay on the same lines of what we've seen in the Titans, just in terms of improving, being able to try to get more guys involved, Rodgers not placing the ball in harm, and then ultimately not being able to play catch up, I think you're looking at a game that we could run away with on paper. I know the early betting lines have us as essentially a touchdown favorite. I think it's a 6.5 point favorite. But us being home, the home crowd, if we can get an early lead and then let the defense operate the way it expects to, just pinning their ears back and the defense locking in coverage wise, I think we'll be fine, right? I'm not even worried necessarily about some of the hiccups, if you want to call it that, the Sauce Gardner's been dealing with, or DJ Reed potentially being out either. Brandon Echols was always a great veteran type option for us, even for a guy still on his rookie contract. And you guys know that I'm still extremely excited about a player like Quantez coming out. JBC would be great to see him get some reps and if he can carry over his preseason performance. So I think we'll be great. Keon White, Christian Gonzalez, and Jelani Tavai, I think he brings some underrated utility to the Patriots defense. Those would be the guys that I'm most concerned about potentially trying to wreck the game for us. But let me know what you guys think. What's your predictions? I would say we could probably win this by 10 points. I'm comfortable saying maybe something like a 23-10, 23-13 type performance here, but you never know with these division games. So let me know what you guys think. What are your predictions? What are you really looking to see and have for your takeaways? I'll catch you guys again. Peace.